Hello and welcome to the final episode of my series publicizing CSICon 2024, this year's annual conference of the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry. And it's going to take place in Las Vegas from October 24th to the 27th. For the last few months, I've been interviewing the featured speakers scheduled to appear at the conference, and we talked about their presentation topics, as well as about their other activities regarding skepticism and science. Since this is the final episode of the series, I decided to make it about the conference in general and provide an overview of the conference experience for anyone planning to attend. And rather than sit here and talk all about this all by myself, I decided to invite Susan Gerbic to help me discuss all of this. Susan's the reason I attended my very first CSICon back in 2017. Can't believe it was that long ago. And I was a newish member of her Guerrilla Skeptics on Wikipedia team at the time. I would have never gone to a conference by myself if I didn't know anybody. So that was great. I got to join her and the teammates at the con and found out she's really good about being inclusive and walking up to people that she sees at the con that don't appear to be with anyone and introducing herself and that sort of thing. So I was hooked, and I've been to every CSICon since. Over the years, I've become more and more involved with CSI and the conference. And this year, for the first time, I'm part of the conference. I'm on the committee along with Susan, which is running this Sunday morning paper session at CSICon. They do that every year. It's an annual event, and we're really excited to be chairing it this year. We'll definitely be talking about that today as well as other things. So welcome, Susan.
Hi, Rob. Isn't Rob great, you guys? I'm so proud of him.
All right, I'll give you the money later. Shh, I'm gonna have to edit all that out. So welcome, Susan. Thanks so much for joining me. And where
Isn't
should we begin? We got a lot to talk about in about a half hour.
Oh, I know, but I just need to make sure everybody understands how honored we are to be able to have you join our community. And we're looking for more people like Rob Palmer and people who have that doing kind of attitude. I really appreciate it.
All right, this
All the
isn't
stuff
about
you've
me.
done. This is what CSICon is about, is pulling people together and networking and finding out, how maybe their skills can be used in other ways. And we can get this big project done, which is combating misinformation.
Yeah, when I went that first time, I was like so amazed that all of these people were spending their time largely not paid or
Hmm.
peripherally as part of their science crew or whatever to support this effort because they thought it was so important. And I really felt like I wanted to do something too.
Hmm.
And I've met other people where that's happened to. One of them, Adrian Hill,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
And GSOW is just made of doers, people, people with that same mentality. And every personality is different. So the level of skill or initiative or whatever is different. And that's really a lot of my goal is to try to find more of these kinds of people who can be our future leaders, our doers, our mentors, and so on. And that's to me what CSICon is about, except for I would add that CSICon is for people like myself who have a lot of energy invested in this. We really, really want to go. We enjoy seeing people and friends and so on. It is speaking to the choir somewhat, but sometimes you do need to speak to the choir. And sometimes you need to have somebody kick those embers that are, discouraged and so on. And that's important. That's important to me, is to go to get my juices going again.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And I would also say for some people they might attend and like be kind of interested and not realize like I never envisioned I would wind up writing for the magazine and speaking at the conference and becoming a public speaker in skepticism. But absolutely none of that would have happened. Not if that none of that would have happened absolutely if I had not gone to CSICon. That
Yeah.
that just was, you know, an ember that started burning in me,
Hmm.
and I felt like I had to do something about it. And like I said, I've seen many other people get that involved. Other people just have a great one-time experience. Other people go and they enjoy the talks and they make friends, who they,
Hmm.
they keep in touch with too. So that's another thing.
Yeah, we're all a little bit different.
So one of the phrases I've heard, I think you have said it in your writing, is that people go for the speakers, but they return for the friendships, right?
The people. Yeah.
Yeah.
People argue with me about that, but I feel like you could go to YouTube after the fact and watch a lot of these talks, and they're wonderful, but you're missing the nuance. And I want to use the excuse. I want I'd like to use the example of the DNC. I've just finished watching it. It was phenomenal. And if we just watched the YouTube talks, just like beginning to end, the person talked, and you can hear the audience reacting and you can see the excitement, that's wonderful. And you get a lot out of it. But what you miss is all that's happening in the audience. People wearing cheese hats and people, wearing all the gear that they've got on, and that excitement and the feeling that it carries beyond the conference. It's not just about the talk, it's about the experience of being together and the like I said, the networking and the excitement and meeting people you've never met before and just feeling rejuvenated and being able to get back into the fight. Because I do think of scientific skepticism as a fight.
A fight against what, Susan?
Misinformation and for, consumer protection.
Yeah, the consumer protection is an important part that I don't get here. I don't hear that mentioned enough, I think.
We have a
People
lot of
think we're just
scientists that,
naysayers and we just want to, say no, 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 no,
right.
no. But
But I think that a lot of the people you interview are scientists and those kinds of people who are talking about, here's my book, here's what I'm researching, that kind of thing. But a personality like myself, which is more activism oriented, it's more of a let's get down and do something kind of thing. And here's how you can be involved. And we are consumer protection people. I mean, that's how I see myself, is that whether or not the person understands that the medication that they see on their shelves is nonsense or not, I don't want it on the shelf for them to have to
right.
decide, is this medicine, is it not? Let's just take it off the shelf or put giant warnings on it. So all that is important to me.
There's a lot of speakers this year talking from that aspect of it, including the let's see, 8 people I've interviewed so far. Yes, seven. So 7 of my pre-CSICon interviews have been published at this point. Banachek's is going to be next, and this will be the last one. So a lot of the people, even the ones I just, a small selection of all the speakers, are in that forefront. Rafael Rina, who's a journalist who fights alternative medicine things and that kind of a thing. Um, Andrea Love, Dr. Andrea Love, who pushes back. She just had a recent article published against the bad rap that glyphosate has had on the farming industry and that sort of thing. Dan Simons, who was the person who came up with the invisible gorilla test. And, he's going to be talking about how we fall for the wrong things and we get conned. Timothy Caulfield, he's amazing. And then there's a mix of people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who, teaches us about the proper science of things, and Forrest Valkai, who is a science educator. So it's quite fascinating group of people this year. So that's all about the speakers. But as you said, it's really about getting there and meeting other people. And the way SciCon is set up, by the way, there's time between, right, on the breaks and stuff, and you can get to talk to the speakers and all the other conference attendees about these
Mhm.
sorts, about whatever you're interested in. So that's fascinating. So what's a typical day at the conference regarding, just what's the experience, Susan?
Right. Okay. So in my world, I'm going to probably show up on Tuesday sometime in the afternoon, and that's when the party starts. And I'm not talking about party as in drinking and so on. Not much of a drinker myself, but it's a lot of hanging out. And we usually hang out at food courts. There's a food court there at the hotel that we're going to be going to. It's a newish, um, redone casino. We've already checked out the food court. It's a nice, clean environment. And we spend a lot of time just hanging out. Once you get your name tag, that's when really anybody around me who has a name tag on is invited to hang out. You can sit at our table. We'll start another table, pull up a chair,
So I think
because
that's an important point. When you get your name tag, don't take it off when you go to lunch
never
or
take your
whatever.
name
Right.
tag off. Keep
Right.
it on in the elevator, keep it on everywhere. And it's a 24/7 conference. I mean, until you go away and fall asleep, then you're likely to find people that you'd like to meet just around. And you get a lot of people who ask questions in the elevator who are not attendees. So you got to come up with your elevator pitch. Usually
So
I
what kind of questions have you been asked?
Well, last year I had on my um tinfoil hat and I got in the elevator.
Susan, why did you have, for people who don't know, why did you have a tinfoil hat on?
See, my flamingo, because it was held at the Flamingo last few years, and he had a tinfoil hat.
That was the official hat of the
And
conference.
so
Not
we
not
had
too many people
tinfoil
actually
hats.
put their hats on, but you
No,
did.
I was photographed with lots of people with tinfoil hats. We have so
All
many
right, let's just
selfies
say
out there.
I
It's
did
so
not put
much
a
fun.
tinfoil hat on.
I'm a tinfoil hat type of person. And if there are tinfoil, if they bring tinfoil again, which I think they will because there was so much left over from last year, we're going to do it again. I got in the elevator and it was very crowded and I had my name tag on, I had my tinfoil hat on, and people were like looking at me at my hat, then they're looking at my name tag, then they're looking at my hat, they're looking at my name tag, and I looked at them and I looked them in the eye and I said, "You like my hair, right?" They all busted up laughing because everybody was going, "What the heck?" And I said, "This is a scientific skepticism conference." And they were like, Okay." They kind of got it. It's like, and it's a joke. The tinfoil hat is a joke. And they're like,
You
oh,
did. You told
okay.
them that
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, you got to come up with your elevator pitch because this is a way of showing the world that how fun it is to be hanging out with people who are like-minded, science geeks and science fiction geeks and whatever else we are identify
I
as.
did notice a fair number of sci-fi themed shirts
Mhm.
there, besides science and skepticism shirts. Yes, and I
Yeah.
have quite a few of those myself.
And each year there's usually some kind of running theme of how to dress. I mean, last year was the 1960s and we had that kind of running through the environment. This year it's going to be outer space and it's unofficial. Wendy Hughes, one of the attendees from years ago, who's been coming for many years, she said, her and Heather Henderson said, let's just make it outer space. And we said, okay. So if you guys want to come with some kind of garb or little dingle balls or whatever that science fiction or science outer space related, please do so. It'll be fun.
I'll have to think about that. So last year, when I attended the Halloween costume, I did an outer space thing, if you can call Star Trek outer space, which I think you have to. So yeah, maybe I'll just wear the same thing.
Yeah, there is no Halloween party this year. The whole event is the party. We're just constantly hanging out. That's really what's going on. A lot of hanging out, a lot of networking, a lot of talking. And remember that the person that you're going to be sitting next to in the audience, who you don't know, could very well be there by themselves also. So get the nerve that you possibly can gather together and, ask the question like, so is this your first CSICon? Or what did you think of that talk? Or, those kinds of open-ended questions. And the person next to you is probably just as nervous about making a new friend. And it may be somebody that you end up, knowing for years. And it's wonderful. I've met so many wonderful people just as I walked off the airplane and gone to my transport. I look around to see who has the nerdiest t-shirts on. And I say, you are going to the conference, aren't you? And then they're like, yeah, how did you know? And I'm like, well, the shirt gives it
I'm
away.
not psychic. That's what you
Yeah,
said.
I'm not psychic, but I've met some wonderful friends doing exactly that. The main photographer, Carl with a K, I met him exactly that way. The editor for Skeptical Inquirer magazine, I met him at the exact same way. And I have a photograph of meeting them. I'm like, can I
Oh,
take
I
a
knew
picture?
about Carl. I didn't know about Stephen. Stephen
Yeah,
Huff?
Stephen Hupp. Stephen Hupp had no idea that someday he would be the editor of the magazine. And I have the photo of him and Carl with a K going, okay, why are we standing here taking a picture with this woman that I've known for about 30 seconds? But I have that photo. I'll send it to you.
Okay, so you're getting in, you said on Tuesday.
Probably Tuesday. And I never leave before Monday after
So I'm getting in
lunch.
on Wednesday. The actual events start on Thursday.
No, no,
But
no, no.
okay,
No, no, no.
so
That's just the schedule, you guys. And on Monday, anybody still hanging around, we go to breakfast somewhere together and we are
okay.
sitting there like
Let's start at the beginning. Let's start at the beginning. So yes, there's the day before. That's great if you can get there. But if you can't, and you're Thursday. So what's the first thing officially of the conference?
well, the first things are the workshops. Now, if you can still get into the workshops, which I'm telling you are going to sell out fast, the workshops are a great way of meeting people because they're usually tables of 10 people. You're interacting with people. And a lot of the people you'll meet at the workshops are the people you will kind of hang out with throughout the conference, or at least say hello to, have feel comfortable with, because you're going to talk to them. So
Right.
the workshops, if you can get to them, are great. The other, there is a book room, and this is the first time we've had it at the Horseshoe Casino.
Wait, I want to go back to the workshops in case people can get tickets. There's some fairly famous skeptics who, just might be a good opportunity to meet and greet and, spend a lot of time with right there. Who's going to be doing the workshops?
Well, Kenny Biddle is
Yes.
going to be doing one of the workshops,
And
and
I
he's
hear
being helped by
somebody from
Richard Saunders,
Australia.
all
Yes.
the way from Australia,
All
who's
the
a
way from
talent
Australia.
in himself, and Grace and Chip Denman, who run a workshop that's on asking good questions. They've done this many times, and people love it. It always fills up. And
And then the one I interviewed yesterday,
oh,
Banachek.
Banachek's going to be doing a
Banachek.
workshop too. He's a mentalist, which was the same thing Mark Edward, my partner, recently deceased partner, did. And they're also having LilyCon. And I understand LilyCon has room still available. This is the first year we've attempted doing this. And I think it's amazing and powerful. So the idea is it's named after Scott Lilienfeld. And what they're going to do is it's mostly people who are science educators to be able to come together, network, and come up with best practices for teaching critical thinking classes and so on. But it's going to be a wonderful little first start for them. They're going to have like paper presentations, and they're going to have papers like, set up so you can go through the whole weekend and look at the papers in the hallway of the, different people that they're bringing in. It's going to be really, really something different. And I think it's important because we need to move critical thinking and how to teach critical thinking into the classroom. And this is a great way of doing that. So if you're interested in anything that has to do with teaching, supporting critical thinkers in the classroom, schools, and so on, LilyCon is the thing to go to. But as I said, a lot of the other workshops are going to sell out. So this might be LilyCon might be a good second choice for people who aren't educators, because I'm sure you'll meet and hear some wonderful talks. Meet some
So
great
that's
people, yeah.
that's all on Thursday. And then that leads into the evening where they have the opening reception. And then the keynote address by none other than Brian Cox.
Yeah. So the meet and greet, remember, is just a giant free for all with food, not like hamburgers or something like that, but
Appetizers.
they're nibbly foods. That is a free for all, walking around, that kind of thing. It's just a mass of people, and you don't know who you're going to be standing next to, because it could be somebody that, one of your heroes. You don't know. And keep in mind, the person you're next to may not be somebody you know now, but they could be a future hero of
So
yours.
don't say anything very embarrassing because they'll remember that.
I will be there taking lots of photographs. That's my thing. It's my social outlet. I love it. I absolutely adore the opening. And then we get to go into the other room and we sit down, and that's when we're going to watch a talk by Brian Cox, whom I've never met before. This is my first time meeting him.
Yeah, I have not either, so that will be fascinating. Yeah, for those, by the way, who have the extra bucks to spend on the VIP luncheon, which is later in the week, I think that is on. I'm looking ahead here. I think that is on. I should know this. Friday. I think that's Friday. Yeah, I don't know if there's tickets still available for that, but you get to spend a lunch in a small room with several of the feature speakers, including Brian Cox, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Michael Mann, and Banachek. So that's interesting. So, okay, so that was a little ahead. So Friday then starts early in the morning. There is opening remarks again, and then we have a whole bunch of interesting talks. Um, Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is coming this year, all of them, and they haven't been here for 5 or 6 years, as I recall.
Mhm.
And the afternoon, the same. Yes, then the VIP luncheon, then there's more talks, and it just goes on and on. And an amazing thing that gets then repeated on Saturday. Right? There's another set of talks that go on from morning through the evening. And in the evening, there's also going to be a Skeptic's Guide to the Universe live podcast recording. And then Banachek, who I just found out when I talked to him, is no longer performing at Vegas. He had a 6-day-a-week show
Yeah, I've been to it
and
twice.
it closed. So he is
I
going
didn't
to do the
realize
show
that.
for us. This is an
Right.
hour show.
I
Yeah.
didn't realize that had closed. So
So
you're
that,
talking
go
about,
ahead.
so Rob, you're talking a lot about the talks, and I'm talking a lot about what's going on behind the scenes and what's outside of the talks that I want people to understand that the conference is not just you go to the talk, you leave, you eat on your own, you go out to a show or anything like that. I mean, you could do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody's held where they have to stay. But generally, a lot of people will just remain in the area. They go out to eat together, usually at a food court or something that makes it easy for lots of people to gather, a buffet, and continue the talk. And then we find hangout areas. And there's several in this this casino we found, and you just kind of hang out and you sit and you talk and you mingle and you move to the next place. Some people play games, and that's the feel of it. So the conference is not over when the talk is over. If you want to continue with more of a social aspect, that is available to you. And one of the ways people can find this is you can go to Facebook and find the CSICon conference Facebook page that I'm one of the admins on. And on there it has a lot more social things. It'll talk about people who want, there'll be a thread for roommates. If you're looking for a roommate, if you're looking for a ride to or from the airport, what you can do is you can put your arrival time and your the time you leave, and maybe if you feel comfortable sharing the airline you're using, and other people who will be coming in or exiting the same time as you can share some kind of ride share together.
Yeah, I
Uh,
did that last year. I wound
and that
up
happens a
waiting.
lot.
Yeah, yeah.
People meet other people and they become friends. They exchange phone numbers, and then when their plane lands, they say, I'm here, and then you find a place to meet, and then you take a ride share together and save expenses. Other people will also want to come in early and do activities. They want to go see something at one of the like the Sphere or
We did
one
that
of the
last year. So
gyms.
we saw the Sphere,
Yeah,
and
and lots of
and a
people
couple of years
they
ago,
don't
we
know each
went
other.
to Penn and Teller show.
Somebody will say, "Hey, I'm flying in on Wednesday. Who else is up for seeing activity?" And people will say, "Oh, that's something I've always wanted to do," and it could be a total stranger, and you just kind of um, form form a friendship. You share a ride to getting to it, and I would suggest people stay at the casino. I mean, there are other casinos nearby, but they're not. It's not that close. There's a lot happening contained in the casino, the Horseshoe, that you aren't going to want to be able to. Nothing is like next door. It's like a block away, the next casino in a lot of
Right,
ways,
right. And
and
it's a
it's not
long walk. Yeah.
quick. So if you're trying to save a few dollars, get a roommate. Don't try to stay off the strip because
Yeah, the
mess.
conference has booked a set of rooms at a
Get them
greatly
early.
reduced rate, and they're running out. I don't know how many there are left now, but I got an email last week saying that.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's
and
quick,
and you
and
could book that through the CSICon conference. We'll put the link.
yeah, it'll save
We'll
you
put
some
the link
money.
here. Okay, so the very last official thing of the conference, although people stay longer, they'll stay a day later or even more if they want to, stay with friends and that kind of stuff, or see other things in Vegas. But is the Sunday paper session. So I mentioned that at the beginning because you and I are running it this year. So
Yeah,
what's
we're
that
running
all
it this
about?
year. I don't know how in the heck that happened. We just got volunteered,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
voluntold,
Yeah. Well,
and
you
which
had
is
so much experience with everything, and then they just asked me to do it because I spoke 4 times in a row at the Sunday papers, and they
well,
didn't want me to do it a fifth time.
no, that's not why.
That's
And
why.
no,
It would
you
have been
just
too embarrassing if I picked myself.
we have a wonderful lineup of 6 Sunday paper people, and if Rob wants to,
Yeah, I'll
I'll
quickly
read
give
it.
the names because they'll be published. Daniel Reed is going to be talking about making critical thinking awareness day a reality, which he did in his home state of West Virginia. Carolyn Doherty is constructing conversations workshop, and that's building on the work you did, right, Susan?
Mhm. She's taking it further. She's doing fabulous.
Bernie Garrett is going to be talking about why is deceptive healthcare thriving. David Weinberg is talking about irrational exuberance, trampling scientific boundaries for fun and profit. That's an interesting topic. Sue Ierchi, is that how you say her name, Susan?
Arachi.
Irachi. She's going to be talking about medical science is an imperfect model and how basically pseudoscience takes advantage of that. Her talk is called Thalidomide, Vioxx, Why Should I Trust You? And then the last one is by Bruce Behrens, In Search of Skepticism in Science Museums. I thought that
Hmm.
was a fascinating topic.
We
He's
have a
actually
really
gone through.
diverse spread of topics, and Sue is coming all the way from Australia.
All
So
right. Is she
I
traveling with Richard
no,
Saunders? Does he know her?
yeah, he definitely knows her well. So Sue is somebody that I've known many times from being over in Australia, our good friends in Australia. But what I want to point out is the Sunday papers are not to be missed. It is one of the highlights of all of the conferences because these are people who are not necessarily professional speakers. There, some of them are getting up there for the very first time doing a talk in front of this many people. I mean, usually a Sunday papers will have at least 400 people at them.
Right,
So
right.
it's terrifying for a lot of people. They have a very quick talk, 10, 15 minutes, and the topics are diverse and they're usually very interesting. There's so much energy and excitement, and everybody's rooting for those six speakers for getting their moment in the sun. And I love it. I never miss a Sunday paper, so never go home on a Sunday unless you go home late. And then we usually go to lunch somewhere.
So to summarize that, if you're coming to CSICon, don't leave early. Stay for the
Yeah,
Sunday
don't leave
papers.
early. Just
Yeah.
assume that you're and because you're going to be so tired, you guys. You know you're not going to go to work on Monday. So just assume that Tuesday might be the first day you can get to work and maybe not then. Hey, get your flu shot and get your COVID shot before you go, several weeks ahead of time,
Yeah.
so that you're
I think
in good
a
shape.
month is best. Yeah.
This is a highly vaccinated group of people you're going to be attending, but even still, we still
Yeah,
get
you got to
sick.
walk through the casinos
And
and the
there's all that,
restrooms and you don't know
not
who's there.
necessarily everybody's very
Right,
vaccinated. But
right.
Rob,
So, yeah.
we have to talk about something very important that people need to understand. There will not be a CSICon 2025.
Yes.
So I want to make sure we probably should have mentioned this at the very beginning of this, in case people don't get this far, is that for people who tell me, and I've heard this a bunch of times, I'll go to a future CSICon. I will go and maybe next year. There isn't a next year because what is happening is there's going to be a World Congress in 2025. It's probably Germany and it's probably in the summer. And so there will not be a CSICon in Vegas in 2025. But if you think you're going to go to CSICon 2026 in Vegas, so CSICon 2026 is going to be held in Buffalo because it's the 50th anniversary for the Center for Inquiry. So that may be great for people who live in, Montreal and that part of
Yeah,
Canada
that'll be
or
easy for me. It's like
New
an hour
York,
flight or something.
Jersey, Ohio, possibly getting into Buffalo. It
But
might
if
be,
you're on the West Coast, where a lot of people come from to go to Vegas, because it's
yeah.
easy. Mm.
And I'm not sure it's going to be in October. I don't know what the plans are for that. 2027, in my opinion, I hope we'll continue with our CSICons, but we need to have some huge attendance at this CSICon 2024 to
That's
show
important.
them that we need a 2027. We have to have that 2026 and 2027 and continue this because you know we have to show up. We just have to show up. If you can, go. Sell a kidney. I'm not kidding. Don't sell a kidney.
Well, you have two of them, so
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a spare. My point is, if you can go, go and bring somebody. Scholarships, trying to help other people attend. We've crowdsourced for other teachers and other people to be able to cover expenses, find a roommate.
all right. So I will be seeing you in person, I think the next time in October in Las Vegas. I'll see
Yeah.
you on the
And I hope we
23rd. I'm flying in.
24th through the
And I'm
27th is the
flying in on the
official days,
I'm
but
flying in on the 23rd.
I will probably be there the 22nd to the 28th. And I hope that I meet you guys there too. Please come up and introduce yourself. As I say, there's always room for another person at the table, and I will have a table. So come and hang out in the book room.
Besides being the Energizer Bunny of skepticism, Susan is the great cat
I'm
herder.
I am the ambassador. They had to give me a title because they had to do
You need to
something.
have that on your CSICon nameplate.
Well, maybe my name tag will say it. I don't know. Or I'll,
Ambassador.
I'll handwrite it in.
All right, Ambassador Susan Gerbic, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being joined by me. No. Thank you, Rob.
So, Susan, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Rob.